my dear intended parents. Today I want to talk to you about the PGD testing. If maybe somebody doesn't know what it is, I will tell you. It's a prenatal genetic diagnostics. So, what is this? What is the genetics about, and why you need to think about this procedure for your surrogacy program or maybe egg donation program? So there is a lot of articles regarding this PGD testing in internet, and it's more scientific and difficult to read. So I would like to talk about this procedure in more simple way. The same as I talk with our clients that arrive for the first visit and are thinking of the possibilities to improve the result of the first attempt, the second cycle, so to receive the result as quickly as possible and do not spend more time and money. So PGD is the good way to improve the success rate, to make the whole pregnancy easier and without any difficulties. Complications during the pregnancy for the surrogate mother and for the fetus, and even to make the pregnancy a normal pregnancy when the surrogate mother is giving birth on the right term, because the pregnancy has no difficulties and no complications from the medical part. So what does the PGD look like? So when you have the fertilization procedure from the donor egg or from your own egg and from the material of your husband, so after this fertilization, the doctor takes some cells from the embryo and sends to the laboratory to check the number of chromosomes, of normal chromosomes, to check the chromosomes if they look fine, if they are normal and do not like the genetic specialist that is doing the test. He will observe and test this sample for normal count of chromosomes and a normal view of chromosomes. It will tell us such information, give us such information that this embryo is good for a transfer, is normally genetically, and will probably implant better than that is not tested embryo, because we do not know what is inside. The embryologist is only looking at the embryo from the visual part, like he's looking at the picture of the embryo from above. He's not going deeply into the genes, into the chromosomes. And the genetic test, the PGD, allows us to investigate on the most precise and detailed way that we even have today. So this is the most deep way to look in the embryo and understand if this embryo is good for implantation. So this is in short, and as you know, probably you have already read that there is a 5 chromosome testing and 24 chromosome testing. There are somewhere in the middle other testing, but we use only the 5 and 24 chromosomes. And what I want to say that if you only want to do a gender selection while testing the embryo, in this case, I would recommend to do the 5 chromosome testing, because you will know the gender and you will know the basic information about the embryo, if it's normal or not, according to these 5 main chromosomes. It will show that there is no Down syndrome, no Patau syndrome, and some basic basic serious diseases that will be connected with some heart issues, brain issues. So you will know that this embryo is more likely a healthy embryo. But if you want to have more deep investigation for all possible chromosomes, human chromosomes, so it is recommended to test for 24 chromosomes. You have to be ready that in this case probably you will have less embryos in the end. Because when we, for example, have 8 embryos after fertilization, after 5 days of the embryos cultivating in the lab, so imagine if we test all these 8 chromosomes, probably you will be ready for about 4 chromosomes. So it can be double less than you have 8 chromosomes without PGD. But why you don't have to be afraid of such a low number? Because the quality goes up when the number of embryos goes down. So you have to understand that these embryos are already not good for the transfer. And if you would transfer them in the beginning, most likely the implantation would not even happen, because the body will not accept a wrong and not healthy embryo with damaged chromosomes. And when you know that you have 4 very good, recommended by the embryologist for a transfer, by the genetic specialist for the transfer. So in this case, most likely you will have the result from the second try, not 5 times, not 10 times. For example, if you have 8 embryos and you don't know what embryo to choose from, so you just you're playing blind. You don't know. You ask the doctor, what do you think? What embryos? How many embryos? So you just select 2 embryos of high quality. If you don't do the PGD, and you transfer 2 or 1 embryo, but you don't know if this embryo is healthy. Imagine even if the implantation takes place, but because of the wrong genes of the embryo, on some week of gestation, on 8 weeks or on 10 weeks of pregnancy, the heartbeat just stops. So it's just still pregnancy that will give you hard time, difficult days, and really put you into some stress, because you had a positive result and then you have to cope with a miscarriage or a still pregnancy. So in case of PGD, it actually never happened in my experience when after PGD the pregnancy had some miscarriage or fetus abnormalities during ultrasound. And also the placenta that is formed from the embryo after PGD also works better, because placenta is a really important body. It's like body organ that works temporarily in the body, and in case it was formed from not good genes, so the placenta will not make the proper work, not give the right nutrition for the fetus, and probably not stay normal during the pregnancy. It can be damaged a little bit, grow more or less, be small or big. So there are so many things for what genes. It's the code of the embryo on the development of the baby. And if you know the most likely healthy genes in this embryo, so probably you will choose this embryo for a transfer, not some unknown embryo. I would say from my experience that all clients that did this testing to embryos, they had success from first, second try. Because even if they had 3 embryos or 4 embryos, so they were successfully lucky to have the positive result from the first try, and even they transferred 2 embryos because they wanted the high quality embryos to transfer right away for twins, and they had twins right away. So imagine that the nature is accepting this healthy embryo for a pregnancy faster than a embryo that will probably not even start the development, not even go right to the endometrium and not meet the endometrium, because you know that an embryo is when it's traveling in uterus after the transfer of embryos to a surrogate mother, and generally with all women it works. So if the embryo is healthy, so he or she knows how to go to the right place of the endometrium to implant. So it is all working like a machine with the genes. And in case the genes do not work in the proper way, so just implantation will not happen. So when the clients ask, do you recommend to do this testing for us? Doesn't matter, it's additional payment or it's included into the program. So they just want to know if it will help the positive result, the healthy pregnancy and live birth quicker, and that our baby will probably be healthy as a healthy human being and baby, and later when it's grown up person will not have any health difficulties later. So I would say always yes, that I would do it even for myself if I require. So because this is a procedure that is helping during IVF. You are doing anyway already a scientific thing, like an IVF procedure, fertilization for become parent, and I think that you have to go till the end, like to use all possible things that science offer to you. If you have funds for this, it is recommended to use this procedure. And don't be afraid that for some reason you will damage the embryo, because after the procedure of taking the cell, the embryo actually recovers really quickly. And it doesn't harm the embryo, and the investigations for this proved it, because if it would harm embryo, this procedure probably will be not allowed in the IVF. So because we have babies from after PGD, and they are totally normal without any defects or something, and it also never happened that after cell taking from the embryo just stopped developing from this, like obvious damage or something. So what I can tell definitely that I see that after PGD we have really high hormone level of pregnancy, but when we do the blood test after the transfer, and I usually ask our doctor was this couple doing PGD? Because I have a lot of clients and I don't remember for some clients did they do the procedure or not, because after when they have the medical coordinator already, they contact with the doctor through a medical coordinator, and when I find out that this was a positive result, most likely I can say in 90% it was a PGD procedure for this couple. So hearing this information, probably you will decide to do this procedure that I fully recommend. And I want to tell you that all my statements about this procedure are all my statements are based on after the doctor's consultation, after the talk with the professor. I'm not just telling it from my own opinion, but it's my observations of the programs and a series and throughout talking with not only one embryologist and reproductive doctor. So I gathered the information to fully understand this question. But if you want to go deeply into this topic, you can look on our website. We have a surrogacy blog where you can find an article about PGD. You can find more detailed information there. And of course, in the internet, you can find a huge amount of information about the prenatal genetic diagnostics. And it's also called a prenatal genetic screening, which is also possible to do. It's for you to decide. And I didn't want to go deeply into the scientific part of this question, but as from just a simple point of view, from a simple opinion, I would say that I would recommend, and maybe 80% of all our clients do this procedure. Some clients just ask us not to disclose the gender of the babies, because when the PGD testing is done, the paper arrives from the laboratory and we send the translated document to our parents, intended parents. Some couples say that it's okay, we want to see the gender, and they transfer a boy and a girl, or some parents say don't show, just transfer the healthy embryos. But we always coordinate this with the parents. So after the after the testing and before the transfer, every parent has to write us a letter. On the basis of the test, they inform us how many embryos they transfer, what gender they want to transfer, and probably the quality, because after the PGD there is a different quality of the embryos, and first transfer, the best embryos go for this transfer, because there are some mosaic embryos, and some specialists say that it's better not to transfer these embryos. Some sources tell that it's okay, so need some just testing during the pregnancy to see if the baby is okay and there are no syndromes. But it depends. Mosaic embryo is not really clear thing now in the science, so better to transfer the obviously healthy embryos. So probably this is everything what I wanted to say about this testing. And we have packages that go with the PGD and with the additional payment for this PGD. Of course, the price for the 5 chromosomes is less, and for 24 chromosomes is a little bit more. And of course, the time for the testing is about 2-3 weeks. So you have to be ready that if you do the PGD testing, so your time between your first visit and your transfer will be a little bit longer, but usually it's maximum 1.5 months for all the procedures from your first visit till the embryo transfer. 1.5 months, and high season probably maximum 2 months. So thank you for being with me at this video, and if you like this information, put a like for me, so I would understand that I have to work on such serious topics for you more. And probably if you want, you can look other videos before this video and interview with our professor. He also talks about the PGD testing. And I hope you will like all our previous videos, and we're filming the next videos soon. And mail me or call me if you are willing to come to our coordination center or agency, as you like. If it's more convenient to you to call us an agency, it's okay. So you are very welcome, and we are ready to answer all your questions to make you happy parents as soon as possible.